Alright guys, on Amazon, CT Sounds was selling these AT Series 500.1 amplifiers for $100 a piece. So I bought 2 of them. So I figured we'd take a look at it and see what kind of power it makes, maybe throw it on the dyno. And this other one, we might give it away. So we're gonna leave it in the box, slide it over here. Let's take a look at it because I'm really curious to see what it's about myself. This is the new packaging. So this is probably one of the new production models and not like trying to liquidate some of the old stuff. I don't know why they were on sale. So it says it's 500 watts RMS at 12.8 volts. We're going to test it at 14.4 volts and see what it is there. I know a lot of you guys were actually buying these amplifiers, so I wanted to get in on this deal myself. $100 a piece seems pretty good. So we got some decals. Everything they sell has decals in it, so that's pretty cool. Info card. In the amplifier instruction manual. The other instruction manuals were really nice, and this one appears to be the same way. It just happens to be for the AT series amplifiers. So right here we have the 500.1. There's the power ratings at 1 ohm, 2 ohm, and 4 ohm. Up to 16 volts, and these are strappable. So let's look at this amp because these things are beautiful. I love these amplifiers. We get some screws. Our bass knob is in this box. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll set this off to the side. Here's the amplifier. Gorgeous amplifier. All the AT series amplifiers have the bottom with like a glass or a plexi, so you can see the internals of the amplifier. This thing is beautiful. It's 500 watts RMS at 12.8 volts, and it's gorgeous. So your CT Sounds logo lights up blue. Looks like 4 gauge, 8 gauge on everything else. 2 30 amp fuses. And there's your master and your slave, of course your standard input and your adjustments. Gain, subsonic, that's your bass boost, LPF, your low pass, and phase adjustment, which is pretty cool. So it also has these really nice Tiffany style RCA connectors. They actually bolt through the panel here, so they won't break or come off or get pushed in. They're actually bolted on. Super nice. This is one of my favorite amplifiers that they make. So let's hook it up and throw some power to it and see what kind of power numbers it makes. So before we actually run our power test, I wanted to give you guys kind of some insight onto how I'm running this power. So here I have 4 4-ohm resistors, and they're connected to this little terminal block. And what I can do is connect them in parallel, series, however I want. So in this case I have 4 at 4 ohms, and I can run them together in parallel to 1 ohm to the amplifier. I can pull out these jumpers and run 2 ohms to the amplifier. I can run them individually to get 4 ohms to the amplifier, or 4 ohms by 4 channels for 4-channel amplifiers. Now underneath of here I built this little base, and this little base has fans underneath. And all these fans do is help it keep cool so I can run big high power amplifiers and they won't overheat, and I can also run more repeatedly and I can test more often. Now for testing the actual power, we have the SMD DD1. This is the Distortion Detector. This will tell us our frequency, and it'll also let us know that it is distorting. This is 0.1% THD, so it's going to be very sensitive. We also have the SMD AMM1, which this is a power meter. It does everything. It's an audio multimeter. In this case, we use it for the power function and the clipping function. So in this case, we'll show about a 5% clipping, and also it will show us our real-time power and dyno power. So for testing amplifiers with a static load, we can use the Dyno power to be pretty accurate. And if we're testing subwoofers, we can use the real-time power to see what the woofers are getting. For testing amplifiers, we will use the Dyno power setting, the static 1 ohm load, and the distortion detector. In this case, we're going to use the DD1 to detect for distortion. That's going to be your certified test. And we'll use the AMM1 to detect clipping, which is your uncertified test. Your SMD amp Dyno has all this stuff built in. It's more work for me, but I can still give accurate results. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and hook up the amplifier and see those beautiful blue lights. Let's turn these on. Put that in Dyno mode. There we go. All right, so let's turn the amp on. There we go, that beautiful logo. Little green light came on. So nice. Also, I want to take a second to look at this bass knob. This is one of the nicest bass knobs you can get for some of these cheaper amplifiers because it has a clipping indicator, it has a power light, and it has a voltage display. On the side, there's an adjustment to fine-tune the voltage with the proper multimeter so you can have it be accurate. Also, the knob is machined aluminum and it's very nice. It's kind of stiff, gives you a nice feel, a nice adjustment. It's not going to be knocked around on accident. It's just very smooth. I run one of these in my car every single day and I love it. It's so nice to be able to watch that clipping light, watch my voltage, and know that my amp has power and that everything's good to go. Alright, let's run our first test up to distortion. This will be your certified run. This is how much power it's going to make certified. Let's run it. 40 Hertz detect. And there, that's distortion. 526 watts. That's pretty good. That's really good. And try it again. We'll run it. 40 Hertz detect. 534 watts of power. Alright, so now we're going to run this up to clipping. This is about a 5% clipping. So this is the most you would want to go before damaging your woofers. If you hit this clipping, that's pretty much where you want to start turning it down. Supposedly this was tested at one time and it'll do 700 watts dynamic. I don't test for dynamic because to me it doesn't matter. You have your clean power up to distortion and then you have just up to where the power starts getting dirty and you don't want to go past that. So anything dynamic to me, you know, is a bonus, but it's not considered part of the actual rating, I don't think. Now, because the resistor setup is the way it is, I can actually test at 2 ohms. So we're going to do both these tests at 2 ohms. And we're going to run it now. This will be certified. Up to distortion. Ready? 40 hertz detect. And right there, distortion, 442 watts. And let's run it up to clipping. 40 hertz detect. There's distortion, and there's clipping. 453 watts at clipping at 2 ohms. That's fantastic. That's really good power. So between 2 ohms and 1 ohm, even with your voltage drop, you're still going to be making really good power. Almost 500 watts out of this amp at 2 ohms, and over 500 watts out of this amp at 1 ohm. So if you're wired to 1 ohm, 2.8, single 12, whatever, this thing is going to make great power for how small it is. A very nice amp. I'm really, really happy with the way these numbers come out. When you go back to the book, and this thing says that it's supposed to make 250 watts at 2 ohms. And this thing is making over 400, almost 500 watts at 2 ohms and over 500 watts at 1 ohm. I'm not even going to try it at 4 ohms. I think it's a good product. I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm going to actually use this for like maybe a single 12, but I have another one. So if you want to see me give that away, let me know in the comments below, and we'll drum up some stuff and we'll come up with some way that we can actually give it away if you guys are interested in it. If not, I might just strap the two together. Who knows? Let me know. Let's talk about it. And remember, guys, stay clean.